Σήμερα είμαστε στο σπίτι μας, εδώ στην Econ BX και θα κάνουμε μια πολύ ενδιαφέρουσα κουβέντα με τον σεβαστό πρέσβη του Ισραήλ, τον κύριο Anolik. Θα συζητήσουμε ό,τι συμβαίνει στη γωνιά αυτή του πλανήτη, χωρίς ατζέντα, χωρίς απαγορευμένες ερωτήσεις, σε μια ανοιχτή κουβέντα, εξ αφορμής βέβαια και της επετείου της 7ης Οκτωβρίου, η οποία είναι εκεί, μας θυμίζει τι έγινε, φτάνει τώρα να δούμε από εκεί και πέρα τι γίνεται και τι θα γίνει. Mr. Ambassador, thank you for accepting the invitation.
I want to thank you for giving me this honor and this opportunity to speak with you and with the people of Cyprus.
You know, I have to tell you in advance that I'm in a difficult position because taking this interview, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be accused that I'm giving the platform to an ambassador that his country is being accused today for genocide. So, what is your response to that?
I will separate this into two different issues. The fact that you will be criticized or not is one element. And on this issue, what I can say is that Cyprus, just like Israel, is an open, vibrant democracy with the right of speech, and people can express their views. And this is true for the people that want to criticize you. It's also true for you and for me. Mm-hmm. Because I think that the people of Cyprus deserve to have the chance to hear from people here and from the ambassador of Israel about the views of my country and how we see things. So I think it's a very important service that is being done. We shouldn't be silencing voices in this country.
But at least agree on the beginning that we're going to have an honest conversation, discussion, without the usual boxed answers or responses to this extraordinary violence that is happening on the ground. And please, let's avoid the usual answer that the victim is given an excuse that human beings are used as shields, etc.
I will refer to this. First
Yes.
of all, I will do my best, as much as I can, to speak openly and honestly. This is the way I always conduct myself. Mm-hmm. And this is the way I want to do it right now. But I want to go back to your first question because I only refer to one element of this. Mm-hmm. And then there's the other element that my country is being accused of genocide. And for this, I have to say that this lie, this blatant lie, this fabrication of the truth is unbelievable. The fact that countries and people around the world come to us and blame us for genocide, it's mind-boggling because there's nothing further from the truth in this regard. And there are plenty of ways in which I can prove this. And let me just start by one example, by saying what we are doing in Gaza is we warn citizens. We tell them, don't stay in those places. We tell them in advance, we're going to bomb, we're going to attack specific targets. Go away, move out of those places so you will not be hurt. Is this a genocidal intention? Of course not. I'll give you another example. Genocide.
Yes.
Just one more example. Genocide, by definition, is that you're trying to eliminate other people. Look at the numbers of the people in Gaza ever since Israel for the first time went into Gaza in 1967. You know, when we went into Gaza in 1967, when we were attacked by our Arab neighbors, there were 250,000 people living in Gaza. There are more than 2 million today. It's the only genocide in the world I know that the people just grow instead of being diminished. So this is ridiculous. The whole accusation is ridiculous.
On the other hand, on the ground now, you have 50 and 60,000 dead people. Most of them are kids.
No, this is again, I'm sorry, but you're using wrong numbers. First of all, the Palestinians claim the number now is about 41,000 people dead. Most of them are not kids. Far from it. Most of them are terrorists. Most of them are Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad terrorists that we have killed. Look at the numbers, look at the data, look at the ages of the people that were killed. This is far from the truth. I'm not saying that innocent people are not killed in Gaza. Unfortunately, it happens because war is not sterile by definition, but more than this. This is exactly because of the way that Hamas chooses to fight this war. Because what Hamas is doing is embedding itself within civilian population. You don't want to use the term human shield? I will not use the term human shield. But the fact I'm not using a term doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
So we come to a point, Mr. Ambassador, that in order to kill a Hamas general, you don't care if you killed with him a Palestinian family. How can you put human lives like that?
You are making assumptions that has nothing to do with reality. Of course we care. This is why exactly the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, are being accompanied and escorted by legal counselors to every attack that is being held by Israel. We follow international law. We abide by international law. Israel is a law-abiding country. Therefore, international law has a very clear definition of what is allowed and what is not allowed. And yes, it happens also in war that when you hit and you target a military target, civilians might be hurt. It doesn't mean we don't care. We care a lot. There is a whole way of how you evaluate what does this mean. For example, we are making an effort not to hit children. But if we have a target in which we know that if we do not hit this military target, these terrorists, these people, many people will die on the other side, yes, it is justified then, even if there is, unfortunately, also innocent people dying. There is no sterile war. What I can say, that if you make a comparison between the way that Israel is fighting its war against terrorists to the way the international coalition was fighting ISIS, or in Afghanistan, or in Iraq, you will find that the ratio in the case of Israel is much lower. The number of citizens, civilians that are being killed in Israel attacks in comparison to the number of terrorists is way, way lower than anything else. I will not say that mistakes don't happen. Mistakes happen. People die, unfortunately, sometimes without there's a need for them to die. But this is not because we have a strategy or an intention to kill civilians. Look at Gaza. Right now, at the humanitarian area, you have almost 2 million people there in tents. One second, let me just finish the point.
But you created there a humanitarian crisis, but this is subject to.
Sure, I will answer all of this, but let me just finish the point. If we had genocidal intentions, you can eliminate 2 million people within 1 week. This is not our intention. This is not our strategy. This is not what we want to do. We are being blamed for this by people that the whole intention is to try to make us incapable of protecting our own lives.
Okay.
And please. Yes.
Let me put things in order. While what Hamas has done on October 7th cannot be justified, for sure, I hope that we can agree that two wrongs do not make one right thing. So, even a justified response must be in accordance with the public international law. Is what Israel doing today according to the international law? You have all the community opposite you.
The answer is yes. We are very much...
But you are the only one who suggests this.
We're not the only one who suggests it. Let's start by this. This is not true. Yes, there are many that accuse us of violating international law, but this is not a legal discussion.
No.
Because they are accusing us for political reasons. Let's be very clear about this. There are many countries around the world, unfortunately, have political reasons.
For sure, I don't want to make any legal discussions.
Therefore, the fact that we are being accused of something doesn't mean that this is what we are doing. We do not violate international law. We operate according to international law. We are... people don't understand what international law means. International law doesn't mean you cannot protect yourself. International law doesn't mean you cannot, at some cases, also unfortunately hurt also civilians in the context of a war. This is not what international law is saying. International law says in what ways you can use force and in what circumstances. There are principles there, and we follow those principles. I don't know any other army around the world that has legal advisors sitting in his headquarters and looking at each and every target that he's attacking to make sure they're doing it according to international law. We are not violating international law.
But you have killings and you have widespread displacement.
Once again, we can go on the same point again and again. The fact that people die doesn't mean there's intention to kill them. It's not the same thing. And I explained to you how this is being done. Displacement, of course. What is the alternative in this case? Should we tell the people, stay in your homes, we're going to attack you, and then they will die? It's better that we tell them, move out. don't stay there. Go to other places because this is going to be attacked. Why are those places being attacked? Why are we attacking this place? Because we want to destroy each and every house? It's because Hamas, on purpose, chose to use houses, it chose to use schools, hospitals as the place where they put their people, their headquarters, their storage of weapons. I want to show you. Can I show you something?
Hold on. And what are the Palestinians should do when you are telling them, leave your houses and go where? Nobody knows where.
Well, there is.
Go to the sea, get into the water, give up your land. Who is doing that? Especially you first. I think you should understand how painful it is to not have your own land and your own country. You've been there.
But let's put things into the right
Yes.
perspective. Nobody's telling them to go to the sea. There are humanitarian areas in Gaza where there are shelters. This is not their homes. This is not something that we say, oh, wonderful, they have wonderful lives. No, their life is miserable, unfortunately. But it's always about the alternatives. They can stay in their home and then they will die, or they can get out of their home and find temporary shelter until the war is over. These are the choices that are there. Between those choices, what is better?
And how the war is going to be over? Do you have a plan? Because if you argue that it's going to be over when we demolished Hamas from the ground, I don't think that there is even one serious guy that will tell you that, okay, this will happen. How are you going to do that?
I will answer to you. This war has very clear goals that were set by the government when we started this, in response to the attack of Hamas. And those goals are not, we're going to eliminate Hamas from the face of the ground. This was never the case, and this cannot be done. It's impossible. And it's not what we are trying to do.
So
what we are trying to do, and I will say towards where we are on this, is the following. One, we want to eliminate Hamas capabilities when it comes to its governmental capabilities and military capabilities. Mm-hmm. And the second thing is we want to allow the release of all of the hostages. And the third one is we want to create a situation in which our people that live along the border with Gaza can go back to their homes safely. These are the goals. Now, we made a lot of progress on the goal of eliminating the military capabilities of Hamas. It's, with all this war going on, people are not looking at what are the outcomes. But so far, we have eliminated about half of Hamas fighting force, eliminated them. All of the Hamas was operating as a terror army, not as a terror organization. They had brigades and regiments, and they were stationed all across the Gaza Strip. All of this does not exist anymore. Hamas now operates as a terror organization, small units, one person here, two persons there, three there. Their command control is lost. It's very difficult for them to do the military command. And their capability to fire rockets, which they have done for more than 20 years against Israel, was significantly diminished. They are not firing at all towards the center of Israel anymore, and they're firing here and there.
So you're halfway there, you say?
One second. So I'm saying that there's a lot of progress was done on the eradication of the Hamas military capabilities. Now, government capabilities, I have to be honest, you want me to be honest? Not enough was done. Not enough was done there, and Hamas is still capable to be the government of Gaza. There is no alternative at the moment to Hamas government. By the way, part of it is because there are large parts of the Gaza Strip where there are no Israeli soldiers. I mean, in spite of what people might think, there are areas in Gaza Strip that there are no Israeli soldiers at all. And in those areas, Hamas is more capable of governing. When it comes to the hostages, as you know very well, we still have 101 hostages. We assume that about half of them are still alive, being held for 1 year by Hamas, with no visits by the Red Cross, with no humanitarian treatment of any kind. We are far from finding a solution there. And I think that we can say that we see the beginning of people going back to their homes. When this is going to be over, I don't know. I don't want to say anything that I cannot stand behind. But you know something? It can be over tomorrow. It can be over tomorrow if Hamas decides he wants the best for its own people instead of killing Israelis. If Hamas' goal is to try to take care of its own people and make their life better, they can come out of the tunnels, put their hands in the air. They will not be executed like they would have done to us. They will be brought to trial, and the people of Gaza can start going back to their homes. But Hamas, his preference is never, was never, and will never be the benefit of its own people. Hamas doesn't believe in peace, doesn't believe in coexistence. Hamas believes there shouldn't be any kind of Israel or Jewish people living at all between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea.
Well, you asked me not to go around to the same argument.
No, you asked me to do this.
No, I will not. But I have to tell you that we keep wondering, I mean, what was the outcome 1 year before? I mean, when the attacks happened on the ground, how many people of Israel died?
Hamas massacred about 1,200 Israelis and also foreigners that day, and kidnapped about 250 of them, and injured and maimed hundreds.
Okay, so a lot of people are wondering, isn't enough revenge on the ground? 50,000, 45,000. So
no, the question,
it's 10 times an Israeli life more important than a Palestinian life.
The basis of the question is so distorted. It's unbelievable. I'm sorry to tell you this. You are presenting things as facts when this is, I'm sorry, has nothing to do with reality. First of all, we are not in a revenge. We didn't go out, we didn't say, very well, let us choose 1,200 men, women, elderly and children and kill them.
Actually, you don't choose. You don't choose.
That's not what we are doing, because we are not out there to revenge. We are out there to make sure that our own people will not have to go again through the same thing that happened to us on October 7th. Maybe we need to remind people what happened on October 7th. Maybe people forgot what happened on October 7th.
You will exactly now, but in order to do that, I have to ask you to remember what was happening before October 7th.
Yes,
because a lot of people are suggesting that October 7th happened for all the things that were happening before that.
Such as trying to reach peace in the Oslo Accords, in the negotiation in Camp David, in the negotiation of Olmert and Abu Mazen, such as the Trump. These kind of things were happening.
Trying to create a nation without a country and without land.
It's almost impossible to have a discussion with no historic understanding of what happened. This conflict that we have has been going on for more than a century. It was going on before there was Israel. It was going on before there were settlements. It was going on before there was occupation. The pretext changes with the years, but the reality is that many of our neighbors, not all of them, but many of our neighbors don't want to see a Jewish state exists. If we don't understand this part, we don't understand anything about the situation on the ground. Now, go back to what happened, as you said before. So, in the last, let's not go 30 years, there were several efforts. Now, the Palestinian Authority, why does it exist? Why does it exist even? Do you know why? Because we negotiated with the Palestinians directly and we agreed to create an autonomous control and rule of the Palestinians. It didn't happen because the Palestinians fought for it and achieved this. It was a result of negotiation with Israel. Why did we do it? Because we believe that we can reach peace with our neighbors. The reality was that ever since then, what we are facing all the time mostly is violence by Hamas and by the Palestinian Islamic Jihad and by other terrorists. So it happened again and again. Take Gaza. What happened in 2005 in Gaza? Israel left Gaza. There was not a single Israeli soldier in Gaza. There was not a single settlement left in Gaza. What did Hamas do in 2005? They built this unbelievable array of tunnels. Why? To build a subway for the people of Gaza? No, to be able to kill Israelis. And this is the point that I find it very hard to have this discussion with people in the West. Because Westerner people, liberal people, think that we all think that all human beings are the same. We all want to take care of our children. We all want to live in peace and coexistence. We all want just good for everybody. This is nice if you are a liberal Western. This is completely not true for the fundamentalists, for the extremists.
Because they don't have the same principles.
They don't have the same values. They don't value life and peace. They value death. Because for them, the number one goal before anything else is to kill the Jews, to kill the infidel. And they will either succeed in this, and they'll be very happy, or they will fail, and they will also be happy. You know why? Because then they are shaheeds, they are martyrs, and they go to heaven and they enjoy life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for me, it was one of the more shocking testimonies I heard was of a Palestinian that, thank God, changed his ways. But he said, I grew up in the Hamas education system. When I was 14 years old, I was taken to a cemetery. I was asked to dig my own grave in the cemetery. Then I was asked with all my friends on the class to lie in the grave and look up to the sky and to imagine my funeral after I become a shaheed, to imagine my family being happy for me for being a shaheed. This is the kind of things that these people, and I have to be very clear, this is not all Palestinians, this is not all Muslims, far from it, but it's a portion of not a small one, of those extremists. This is what they believe in. These are the people. It's not people that say, we want to live in peace and coexistence with the Israelis. No, this is what we need to fight. And coming to us and tell us, oh, you cannot defend yourself against these people, you should live with them together, is totally misunderstanding of the world we live in.
Mm-hmm. But we have to agree at least that after what's happening for 1 year now, generations will be created with more hate and sworn fanatically to revenge.
Why is this your assumption? Why is this the only way that things can happen? Look what happened in the Second World War in Japan. Look what happened in Germany. What you see from there afterwards is just hatred and want to kill more. Maybe people will understand maybe death and killing is not the right way. It's not a given. There is a need to change the way that the Palestinians, especially in Gaza, are being led, are being educated. If they continue to believe that the only thing that they can do in life is try to eradicate Israel, yes, then we'll be doomed for an eternal war. What do you want us to do? To lie down on the ground and die then? No, we'll continue to protect ourselves. If there is no change on the leadership on the Palestinian side, if there is no de-radicalization, if there is no demilitarization in Gaza, if there is no willingness to start building their life there, like they were given the option in 2005, we might be doomed for an eternal war. But what is the option? Not to fight for our lives, not to fight for our survivability? No. What do you expect us to do?
Okay, but today...
One sentence, just one sentence.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I have to say this, too many people around the world think that we have the theoretical right to protect ourselves, but once we do this, they want us to stop doing this. There's a big difference between theoretically saying, yes, you can defend itself, and understanding what does this mean and where this might lead us.
Maybe because they don't understand the size of the protection. Because you can protect yourself by beating up the guy in front of you, but if you go and find his family, his sons, his relatives, then it's a different equation.
Yes, but that's not what we're not looking for his sons and his family. We're looking for the ones that are trying to attack us. We were looking for the ones
you understand
that are
the metaphor,
planning.
yes?
I know, but
yes.
are planning to do more October 7th. Listen to Hamas. Listen to them. They said there will be more October 7th in the future. That's what we want to do. So what we're supposed to do? Wait for another October 7th? Wait them to come again and massacre us?
But it seems that we're making circles. Because if we are thinking like this, and if you are thinking like that...
Help me. What do you want us to do? Help me. What you want us not to fight for ourselves?
Being civilized,
you want us to wait
you,
there for them to kill us?
Being civilized and sit on the table.
But we sat to the table so many times. It's not we said, no, we're not sitting to the table and discussing with our neighbors. We've done it many times, and we're willing to do this again. But with whom? This is a confusion.
But you already said no to two or three efforts of putting an end to the...
No, you're confusing things. There's the issue of how you ceasefire for the end of the war, and there's the issue of how do you find peace with our neighbors. We've been many times to the table. We're willing to go back to the table. We have no partner in Gaza because Hamas is not interested in any kind of peace with us. So this is one. Ceasefire, we will not accept a ceasefire in which Hamas will continue to rule Gaza and continue to plan another October 7th.
Even if the whole international community is asking for it?
If the whole international community asks you to commit suicide, will you commit suicide?
No, because
no.
I suppose
we will not commit suicide as well.
I suppose that the international community will never ask me something like that.
But they are asking us in what they are saying.
But they're asking you to follow the international law.
We are following the international law. This can go on for a long time. We follow international law. International law does not say we cannot protect ourselves, and it doesn't say we cannot kill those who want to kill us. That's not what international law is saying. I'm sorry. The fact that people don't like to see war, I hate the war as well. But the only question is, what are the alternatives? This is the real question. And if the alternative is committing suicide, I'm sorry. We will not commit suicide just because the international community wants us to do so.
But we need, in order to find some common ground, we have to...
Common ground between whom? Between us and Hamas? What is the common ground between us and Hamas?
Before the whole planet. If we agree that we respect the international law, then we have certain values, and when the Secretary General or the Security Council is asking for something, we're here to obey or to follow.
We follow and we obey.
Because then we become, I can talk now like a Cypriot, we become Turkey, where dozens of resolutions are suggesting take the troops and get out of the country, and no one listens.
So let's just be accurate on this issue. There's a big difference between Security Council resolutions that Israel follow and obey, and General Assembly resolutions of the United Nations, which are totally different, and they are not binding. We follow Security Council resolutions. I'll just remind you, Security Council resolution 242 and 338 that are the basis of a situation where the Palestinians call for a negotiation between the two sides. And that's what we've done for many years. Unlike the recent General Assembly resolution, which is, I have to say, it's amazing because it says, no, there's no negotiation. No, the resolution said Israel needs to leave the territories within 6 months. Like there are no security concerns, nobody cares what happened the day after. So there's a big difference between the two. We are a law-abiding country. We follow international law. It doesn't matter how many people will tell us, no, you're not. Yes, we do. We strongly believe in this. This is our values. Common ground, I think there is common ground. There's common ground of the understanding of what is the future, how we can get to there. We believe in peace. We believe in the need to live in coexistence with our neighbors. We do not have the same genocidal intentions that the Hamas and others have against us. It's very different. And actually, I feel that, I'm not talking about the international community as a whole, I talk about our friends and allies in the West. I think that they are not supporting enough this war. It's now us, but the West is next. We are not alone in this, and this is not just against us. And if you think that we are living in a world that everybody wants to live in peace and coexistence together and to respect the others, you need to have a better look at what's happening in our region. And we'll talk about this, but let's talk about what Iran is doing, what Hezbollah is doing, what the Houthis are doing, what others are doing in the region. They do not want to live in peace and coexistence with us.
Okay, so let's talk about the October 7th. What exactly happened?
I will say one general thing, but then I prefer to tell just one story because it's impossible to cover all of what happened.
Please.
October 7th was a Jewish holiday. Or the holiday of Simchat Torah. It's a major Jewish holiday. At 6:30 in the morning, we were surprised by an attack by this terrorist organization in which thousands of terrorists crossed the border from Gaza into Israel, and they raided communities and villages and kibbutzim, went into the houses of people, massacred them, raped people, killed children, burned things to the ground, took hostages. This is in general. This is, of course, it's a collective trauma that I cannot say that we have overcome this. We haven't. This is still something that haunts us. This is still something that's very much on the mind of everybody, because if you ever had a nightmare and then you saw the nightmare materializes, this is how we feel. People come to your house, look you in the eyes, and shoot you. They don't know who you are and what you did. Do you support peace? You don't support peace. You are in favor of coexistence. They don't care. And they kill you. I want to tell just one story, if you allow me, because it's too much. This is the story of Anel Shapira. This is how it starts. Anel was 22 years old. This is Anel. You can see that. On that morning, he was at the Nova Music Festival. He loves music, he writes music. And when the siren started to be sounded, he was able to escape the Nova Festival. and it was making its way on the road in the southern part of Israel. It's road number 232. This is how it's called. It's known as the road of death now. And when he heard more sirens, he pulled over and he went into a shelter that was on the side of the road. Why do we have shelters on the side of the road? Because Hamas for many years is shooting rockets into Israel, so we need to have shelters prepared everywhere. In this shelter, there were about 30 young people as well with him. And they were standing there. And they started hearing shooting from the outside, and they realized that the terrorists are not just firing rockets, they are on their way to the shelter. And terrorists surrounded this shelter. And what they started doing was throwing hand grenades into the shelter. Taking out the pin and throwing it inside. Anel was the first one at the entrance. What he did was catch those grenades and he threw them back out. He did 7 of these, 7 grenades that he was able to catch and throw out before they explode and kill everybody inside. So the terrorists, what they did then was they fired an RPG into the shelter. I want to repeat what I just said. We have a concrete building, small one. Inside you have 30 people, and the terrorists, none of them is armed, of course. The terrorists decided what they should do is shoot an RPG into this building. The RPG killed Aner and many others inside. Then the terrorists came inside and they dragged outside whoever they found was still alive, including people that were badly wounded. One of them was Hersh Polin. Hersh was put on a truck. His arm was amputated, was cut off because of the RPG, and he was dragged into Gaza. He spent almost a year in Gaza, Hersh. A video of his was published publicly. He was executed by Hamas terrorists. He and 5 other hostages were held in one of the many tunnels that Hamas has. This was a very low tunnel. You cannot stand straight in this tunnel. Very hot, very humid. I don't know how you can see this, but this is the tunnel where they were found. When the 2 terrorists that were guarding those 6 hostages, among them 3 women, suspected that maybe the IDF is somewhere in the neighborhood, they shot them dead on the spot inside the tunnel. The blood there is the blood of those people. And the last picture I want to show to you is where was the entrance to this tunnel? Because it goes back to what I told you before. Look at this picture. You see this? The shaft of the tunnel goes into a children's bedroom in Gaza, in Rafah. Because this is what Hamas do. This is exactly how they operate. They embed themselves inside the civilian population to get some kind of a shield. You don't like the term human shield? Call it whatever you want. This is who we are fighting. These are the people.
At the same time, Mr. Ambassador, I'm hearing voices of relatives of the missing in action persons, the hostages, that maybe they're not priority for the government, that there are other plans or other priorities. Do you accept this? You see them, they are demonstrating.
Yeah, I will answer. First of all, the government of Israel made it very clear what are the goals of this war. I mentioned them before, and one of the main goals is the release of the hostages. This is the one thing.
The third one.
It's the second, actually, but it's the goals were not prioritized. It was not saying this is more important than this. The goals were set that these are our goals. Yes, there is plenty of criticism in Israel against decisions of the government, including on the issue of the hostages. Thank God, as I said before, that we live in a vibrant democracy, that people can voice their concerns and can voice their criticism. I, of course, am not going to make any kind of stand or position on this matter. People are allowed to make their voice heard. As I said before,
I'm trying to establish the argument that if the families are feeling like this, then it means that something else is happening, that hostages are not priority, so they're only an alibi for bigger plans.
But that's the assumption. This is not the reality.
It is an assumption, yes.
As I said before, people are entitled to have their opinion. If you go into the social media, you'll find people that have many different views about the situation. So it's their opinion,
but okay, the question is, did you have the chance to take them back and you didn't accept it? in the negotiations?
I'm telling you from what I know, there was never a situation that a deal was on the table that was accepted by Hamas and was rejected by Israel. This has not happened. There were discussions, there were negotiations, there were proposals moving back and forth, but there was never a situation that a real deal was on the table, accepted by Hamas, rejected by Israel.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me take you back and ask you, are the Palestinians entitled of having a state? Or do you feel that they're second choice citizens?
Oh, right. Let's start with the first part and then the second part.
Yes.
Look, I need to answer you in a metaphoric way. And this is how I can do. What you're asking me is, how would the permanent solution of the Israeli-Palestinian problem need to look like? Is it going to be a Palestinian state living side by side to an Israeli state? This is the question. First, I need to say that for many years, the answer was yes by the Israeli government. I cannot say it at the moment, but I need to say something in this regard. This is, when you ask me this question now, it's a little bit like, we are going to build a colony on Mars in 50 years. How do you think we should settle this colony? In high residentials or in small villas? This is the kind of question you're asking me right now, something which is very theoretical, which has no way to be implemented anywhere in the near future, and will not solve anything at the moment on the situation. So this is how I can answer you.
But I'm asking you about the principle.
The second thing you said, just one second.
It's a principle.
Yeah, and I think I answered a very clear answer to your question.
Because you don't believe that they're able to have a state.
No, it has nothing to do with believing or ability. At the moment, the government of Israel does not say that our policy is a two-state solution. This is our policy, and I cannot say anything else but this. All I can say is that for many years the policy was different, and that there are many people in Israel that still believe this is the case. Okay, but the second thing, second-class citizens. Let's be accurate here as well. Mm-hmm. First of all, citizens of Israel. We have 10 million people. Almost 22% of them are Muslim, Arabs, Palestinians, and they have full right. They vote for the Knesset. They are citizens. You will not find anything similar to this in our region. 22% of Israeli population are Palestinian, Arab Israelis. Then we have the Palestinians in what is known as the territories. They are not citizens of Israel. They are not. Therefore, you cannot call them second-class citizens. Majority of them is being ruled by the Palestinian Authority or by Hamas in Gaza, not by Israel directly. Israel is not governing them. So just need to be more accurate on those terms. Are they happy with the situation? No, they are not. We are not happy with this as well. And as I said before, there have been plenty of efforts along the years to try to find a permanent solution. If it was easy, it would have been done by now. It is not the lack of will that brings us to the situation right now that it's very hard to see how we're going to get a permanent solution.
Mm-hmm. Okay, if those arguments give some kind of an excuse of what is happening on the ground, I can't say the same for what is happening now in Lebanon, because everyone is...
So you can or cannot?
Cannot. Because everybody now is keep asking, okay, and what are you doing in Lebanon? Lebanon is a different country. Why are you there?
I'm sorry for smiling. Why? First of all, we are not there. But I feel that I need to tell things that are so obvious. Why is there an exchange of fire across the border with Lebanon? Who started firing? Who? We did? No, we didn't. On October 8th, one day after Hamas attacked us, Hezbollah made a decision that they are going to tie themselves to Gaza because they want to support their best buddies of Hamas. So they started shooting on Israel. And once again, what are you telling me? Oh, if you are being, if people are shooting at you, want to kill you, don't do anything. Don't do anything. Just wait there. It will go away. It doesn't go away. They are shooting at us. So we are not supposed to respond.
Respond.
One second.
But with the same way.
We responded.
With the same way.
By the way,
now you have an invasion.
But we don't have an invasion.
What are you doing in Lebanon?
We are not in Lebanon. What are you talking about? I'm sorry. We are not in Lebanon. We are not in Lebanon. There is not a single Israeli in Lebanon.
Soldier.
Or person. There's no one in
Yes,
Lebanon.
but you keep sending bombs.
You said something in principle which is funny. What is this thing? Do the exact thing. So if they are shooting a rocket into a house, they need to shoot a rocket into a house also? What kind of a war is this? What, you think this is a game? Look at what Hezbollah is doing in southern Lebanon. This is ridiculous, this argument. We will not be there and say, okay, let's measure this. They shot one rocket in this angle, we're going to shoot one. It doesn't work this way.
So it's an eye for an eye?
This is exactly what it is not. It is not an eye for an eye, exactly what I'm telling you. And
it's an eye for 3 eyes.
For 11 months, what we did was exactly this. We said, okay, we don't want to escalate. We don't want to get to a situation that we have another war in Lebanon. We kept on saying to Hamas, to Hezbollah, you need to stop it. You need to stop it. You need to stop it. They don't stop it. What is the thing that makes Hezbollah shoot at us? Answer me this. Why are they shooting Israel? Why? Only to support Hamas. This is the only reason. So this is justified in some way. So we need to let 70,000 of our citizens be taken away from their houses for a year now, being put as refugees in Israel because they cannot go back to their homes because Hezbollah is shooting them. So we need to accept this forever? So 11 months we are telling them, let's find a solution. Let's find a solution. And we get zero. So after 11 months of restraint, we said enough is enough. And you are going to pay a price for what you are doing, and we are making them pay the price. And look what happened to Hezbollah in the last 2 weeks. Look just what happened to them. Hassan Nasrallah feels very much alone right now because all of his comrades, the leadership of Hezbollah, have gone back to meet their creator. Look what happened to them. So you're telling me now, what are you doing there?
A lot of innocence also.
Please, seriously, look at the numbers, okay? And look at what we are doing. Once again, we sent out tens of thousands of messages to people in southern Lebanon telling them, get out of the house, we don't want to kill you. We sent out phone calls. Mm-hmm. We actually were able to get into Lebanese radio and send messages. We are warning them. We are telling them we are going to attack. This is where we are going to attack. Now, remind me in what other wars the army is telling the enemy, we are going to attack you in this point, please leave the place. Mm-hmm. Remind me. Okay, we're talking about innocent. People that die in Lebanon, the vast majority of them are Hezbollah terrorists. Hezbollah has stopped publishing how many people are being killed because it cannot even follow this. Among them, do we also have civilian casualties? Yes, we do. And I explained to you again before why this is happening. The fact that there are civilian casualties doesn't make this unjust, doesn't make this wrong, doesn't make it a violation of international law. We don't like it. We would prefer that nobody died. This is why we make so much effort to try to tell the civilians, get out of harm's way. But if you think that we would continue to sit on our hands and let Hezbollah continue destroying, Hezbollah until now killed about 50 Israelis in the year past. Among them, 12 children playing soccer in Majd al-Shams. This is what Hezbollah is doing. So what is the number? How long do we need to wait? 2 years before we respond? They got a lot of chance to stop this. If they didn't understand until now, maybe now they will start to understand what they need to do.
But the timing doesn't create a question mark.
In whose eyes? When is the right timing? 10 months, 12 months, 13 months? What is the question of timing, which I don't understand? Look, I don't know. Nobody shared with me the decisions made by the government and the IDF. I don't know why this specific moment. But what does timing have to do with it? What is important if it was a month from now or months ago?
I'm talking about the time because we agreed that escalation of the war is not a solution, and at the same time, it's happening.
When did we agree on this?
So it's a solution.
No, I'm just saying I don't remember agreeing with this.
Okay, but okay. I thought that we agree that war is not something that we both want.
Yes, we agree on this.
Yes.
But the fact that we don't want it doesn't mean we don't have to find ourselves doing this.
Okay.
And if you take Hezbollah as an example, it's exactly the thing.
Okay.
11 months we were waiting for them to stop.
Okay.
We didn't want to escalate.
So there is a good reason, you say, to be there.
Maybe. I don't know if this will happen, but maybe through this escalation that happens now, it will make Nasrallah be put in a situation that he needs to make strategic decisions. He is under a lot of pressure, you know that, from the own people of Lebanon. People of Lebanon don't want to see their country being destroyed because Hezbollah is helping Hamas. I mean, if you are a Lebanese, Muslim, Christian, Sunni, Druze, why do you need to see your country being destroyed because Hezbollah thinks he needs to help Hamas? Why? So the pressure here needs to be put on Hezbollah, on Nasrallah, to make decisions for the good of its own country. Not come to me and tell me what is it that you are doing.
Even if there is a good chance for Iran to be involved and have a nuclear threat?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Why?
Sorry. I tell you why. You're saying this as if
Because
Iran is not involved.
Because the arguments are so predicted?
No, because you're saying this as if Iran is not involved. Iran, this nation,
So why don't you hit?
sitting out
Why
there
don't you?
doing nothing
Why
at
don't you
all?
strike Iran also? Why don't you do the same thing? If the
I want to understand correctly. A second ago, you told me that we agreed that escalation is not the answer.
Yeah, but
now you are encouraging me to escalate.
no,
even
but I'm
further.
trying to understand the logical behind that.
I will try to answer.
Please.
First of all, Iran is heavily involved. Not just involved. Iran, as we call it.
It's the elephant in the room.
It's not the elephant. Chose an animal. The animals I have in mind is a snake and an octopus, not an elephant. Iran has a very clear policy, which is to undermine the situation in the region, to come under not just against Israel, under all other Sunni moderate countries in the region. Iran has put this network of proxies in the region. Mm-hmm. It's Hezbollah, it's Hamas, it's Palestinian Islamic Jihad, it's the Houthis, it's the Shiite militias in Syria and Iraq. They are doing all of this. They have a strategy, they have a policy. It's called export the revolution, because the Iranian regime believes that the Islamic revolution in Iran is a good thing, and we need to do it all over the region. So we need to export this revolution. Therefore, they are arming the proxies, they are financing them, they are guiding them, they are giving them know-how and technology, and sometimes also orders and directives. Iran is heavily involved. Iran also, as you remember very well, came out of the darkness on April 14th, and they fired 300 missiles directly on Israel.
Correct.
Ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, drones. So Iran, first of all, heavily involved. Iran, we strongly believe, is not a threat just for Israel. Far from it. Iran is a huge threat to the region, to the world. It's a threat on so many levels, starting with the nuclear military program that they have. But in addition to this, Iran is a supplier of drones to Russia in the war against Ukraine. Iran is supplying Russia with weapons that are being used against European countries. Iran is a huge threat, not only for us, and Iran is a big player. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a problem that the international community needs to deal with, not just Israel.
But if you are so direct for Iran, I suppose that you could say most of the things also about Turkey, or not?
Maybe you can say. I don't know if I can say.
Why? Because there are different interests.
First of all, no. All countries
because
have
Turkey
interests.
has proxies as well. And also, I can remind you several times that Mr. Erdogan gave support to all the fighters, so-called or not so-called, fighters of Hezbollah and Hamas.
Look, we have no shortage of enemies to Israel. No shortage. I mean, I would say one more thing in this regard. When Hamas looks at its enemy, he sees Israel. When Hezbollah looks at its enemy, he sees Israel. When the Houthis look at their enemy, they see Israel. They all see Israel, but we see all of them. Mm-hmm. All of them. So we have plenty of enemies. Our relations with Turkey are not good. It's not a secret, it's well known.
It's among your enemies?
No.
It's not.
Turkey is not an enemy, and we don't want to make it into an enemy. We have no direct fight with the Turks. We don't want to find ourselves. We don't want to turn Turkey into an enemy. It doesn't say that we are good friends. We are not. We had good relations in the past, then bad relations. Then there was an effort by Turkey to try to improve relations. But ever since October 7th, Turkey took another direction, and they don't want to have now at the moment good relations with Israel.
And they chose side. Can you agree on that?
Of course, they chose side.
They chose side.
Yes.
And you don't have a problem with that?
We have huge problems with this, but it doesn't mean we want to turn them into an enemy. There's a difference between the two. Mm-hmm. So we have plenty to say about the behavior of Turkey, which we think is not helping the situation in any way. But still, we have no interest in turning them into an enemy.
Mm-hmm. How about the attitude of Cyprus or the behavior of Cyprus? Is it on the right side?
The answer is yes. The answer is yes. I think that the Cyprus government has been showing in the last year a very principled, positive position. It doesn't mean that they agree with everything that Israel is doing, no, but they understand the situation. They understand who are the terrorists and who is protecting itself. And I think that the good relations that exist between Israel and Cyprus are continue to be just this. And I can say, John, we appreciate the position of the government of Cyprus. There were several points. One of them is the recent vote in the United Nations that we thought that there should be a different approach by the government of Cyprus. But we have good enough relations that we can discuss those issues between us. As I said before, it's not that we agree about everything, but we have a very friendly relations.
And are you using facilities of the Republic in order to make your plans work on the field?
No.
No?
No. We don't use any other country's territory in any way for our battle against.
Because there are a lot of rumors about the bases that are being used.
The basis last time I checked was the UK. Maybe you can ask the High Commissioner of the UK what are the
So it's a no.
bases. I don't know what they're doing in the bases. Israel is not using the bases.
Does your country have anything to do with the problems we have with Google? You know that there is a big problem. You know that there's a big problem on the island with Google.
You're talking about GPS?
Yes.
You know the answer to this.
What is the answer?
Yes, there is a connection.
There is.
Yes. There is a connection, as far as I understand and know. Israel is using now different technologies to try to thwart and intercept and prevent the drones and the rockets that are GPS guided by Hezbollah and by others that are being fired towards Israel. Now this is
so everything is framed.
Everything is framed.
Everything. I mean,
I'm not sure I understood what you said.
It's captured.
Not just captured, it's being used to try to make them miss their target, so they don't know where they are. Now this technology is, you cannot, it's not like a hard line that goes only to this point. Sometimes the weather has to do with it, something other things. So I guess that there is a spillover that reaches some part of Cyprus that might affect GPS in Cyprus as well. It was brought to the attention of the Israeli authorities. I know that they're looking into this and see how they can prevent this from happening. Unfortunately, it's a bit of a spillover. I know it's inconvenient. It's not directed at Cyprus, is the only thing I can say.
Mm-hmm. Last question. 1 year after 7...
Last question?
Last question. It's been an hour talking with you.
Seriously?
Yes. But
were you enjoying it as much as I was?
Yes.
Okay.
1 year after 7th October. The same thoughts, like the day after, some more wisdom, some things changed. What is the main message 1 year after what happened?
You know something? I feel that in all my answers until now, I showed a high level of confidence and I know what I was talking about. This is your first question that I'm not sure I have a good answer to. I'm not sure that I can tell you how things might look like in the foreseeable future. As I said before, I think that on October 7th, me too, and I was the head of policy planning in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Israel. I became more modest about my capabilities to try to predict what is going to happen. So many things happened this year that I didn't think that were going to happen. We are in a bit of what I would say terra incognita, unknown territory. How things will develop from here, I don't know. My hope is that a series of steps can take us eventually, hopefully in the months to come, to a better situation. A combination of maybe a deal that can bring the hostages back, together with the end of the fighting in Lebanon, together with a broader, renewed relations with some of the moderate Sunni Arab countries in the region, might create a different strategic situation. Will it happen? I don't know. How long will it take? I don't know as well. But I am not totally without hope.
So we're certain that
You said last question.
we're certain that we're working to an uncertain future.
First of all, every day is going into an uncertain future. If we knew what's going to happen, it wouldn't be the future. This is how it is. I think that we need to rely on our values, on our principles, on things that we want to aspire to see. I think that on these issues, Israel, Cyprus, and the Western countries, and the civilized people, I would say, we do share similar values and interests in this regard. I think this would be what needs to guide us on the way forward. The understanding that we are part of a large human fabric. We cannot forget, though, that not everybody shares those values with us.
Thank you very much for a very interesting interview and very tense one. Thank you.
Thank you.